15 flats, 15 retail units, overlaying a couple of things of exchange delayed completion, completing on value rather than exchange, segmenting the property purchase. And because there was a commercial section and a residential section, we split them in two, and we're doing them at different times. So again, exchanging on the lot, completing on one segment and leaving the other segment to come later.
Yeah, but we saw when we analysed the deal, there was inherent value in the C3 residential element.
That's right.
And that was the key to this deal.
Welcome to the Property Business Accelerator podcast, and today I'm welcoming back Bruce Mannering from Bond Finance. And today we're going to talk not just about finance, but about creative deals, and more in particular, exchange delayed completion. And Bruce and I have been working together for a long time, and I have done exchange delayed completion with the aid of Bruce, and also a lot of my mentees have done exchange delayed completion with the aid of Bruce. Now, not many brokers are able to do this, and that's why it's been great to have Bruce come along today to explain some of the concepts around exchange delayed completion, which is all about deal structure, it's all about finding the right deal, but more importantly, it's the person behind the deal that generally allows this to make happen, and it's that relationship you can build between the seller and the buyer, and you actually remove a lot of the barriers because someone is keen to sell, someone is keen to buy, and it's all about the mechanism that you do that under without requiring a massive deposit. And that is one of the key things why a lot of people are really excited about this concept. So Bruce, can you tell me a little bit more about how people go about this exchange delayed completion concept?
Sure. Every deal I've done, it seems to be a retiring landlord wanting to get rid of a property and having problems selling it, and it hangs around on the market. And every landlord, retiring landlord, just wants to get the deal done, and it's just got this mental thing in the head, let's get exchanged, and then I definitely will be completing. So the key is to get a line in the sand of what the property is currently, and all the deals where there's a minimum deposit going in or no deposit going in, they're doing some refurbs or they're splitting them up. They're changing something to get the higher end GDV. And then when you come to purchase the property, we're looking to complete on the uplifted value, not the purchase price. Now, every single bank in this country only completes on the purchase price or value, whatever the lower is. So how do we go about that? Now, I'm lucky enough, we lend out our own money as well as brokers, and I've got a bridging company called BDK. And we are registered with a lot of the panelled valuers out there, one particular being on VAS. And VAS are also on the panel of HTB in Shawbrook. So what we get agreed with HDB and Shawbrook is that BDK instructs the valuation. We get a line in the sand where it is. The valuer also gives us an NGDV. We then take that valuation, send it to Shawbrook, and ask them, right, this is the plan of action. Are you going to give us permission in 6 to 9 months' time to complete on the NGDV? So it's all agreed up front. And once we've got that sheet of paper, the client then exchanges. They get the works done, and hopefully there's a high enough uplift in value that it's a no money down deal, which we've done a few times, haven't we?
Yeah, we have. So there's some key principles there that I'd like to pull out, which is obviously you've got a variation between what you're actually buying it for and what the bank is, the value that the bank is going to lend against. Obviously, they love to see some refurbs and uplifts or something different to allow that value. But one of the critical things is the amount of time from agreeing the purchase, getting the purchase in, and when you actually complete. And as you said, 6 to 9 months. In actual fact, a lot of the deals that kind of are, a lot of my mentees do a little bit longer than that, because the bigger the variation in time, obviously the more distance you're putting yourself between that sort of agreed price and the new price. And I think something I drum home into everybody I talk to about this is that you've got to have some kind of like, why is there going to be a difference in value? You can't rely on just the market. You've got to have something. And I do hark back to one of my deals where you always said, Mike, what are you actually doing to this property? What are you doing to this property to actually make it work?
Give me some receipts. Give me some receipts.
I want some receipts. So we'll get into that deal more specifically soon. But I think that is a great concept. And in actual fact, I think when I first came with the deal that I had this idea of doing on, I said to you, can we just extend, complete on value because it's over the 6-month rule. Lots of property investors know the 6-month rule. It's going to be beyond 6 months. Can we complete on purchase? And you were like, oh, I'm not sure about this. Let's go and talk to
Shawbrook at
that point in time.
Yeah.
So what did you do? So I came to you knocking on your door saying, Bruce, this concept's here. Yeah. Can we do this? And you went, let me go and talk to Shawbrook. So I'll hand over to you to tell the story.
So we've got a very good relationship with lots of banks, one being Shawbrook. So we picked up the phone, spoke to the head underwriter at Shawbrook Bank. Then he went away and spoke to the head of risk. And they all had a little huddle. We went through the deal itself, what the parameters are and stuff like that. And I've actually still got that email from back in 2017, I think, from the head underwriter saying, yes, we agreed. If you do this, if you do that, if you do this, we will complete on the OMV value,
the open market value.
The open market value, not the purchase price.
Yeah, you should put that in a frame, shouldn't you? Really?
Yeah, in your office.
Because that was the new underwriting policy, and I think that's where people need to understand that you've got to work with a decent broker who actually has that relationship, because a lot of these deals get more. The more complex you get, the more difficult it is to communicate the story. And I always tell everybody it's the story that you portray makes the life easier. And I think one of the things that Bond's really good at is actually telling that story to the broker so they fully understand it, they're clear and in the picture, and therefore it's far easier to buy into those kind of concepts. And you know what I'm like, I love pushing the edges of the boundaries and making you go off and try and do things. And I think that's one of the key things. And I think, we'll get into this a bit later on in the podcast as well, is like, I also get really frustrated with people who are like, oh, but these rates are more expensive in this. And it's like, no. It's about getting the deal done. Don't worry about the rates. Actually, when you're doing £1 million, multi-million pound deal, you're not putting much money in, whether it's 1% higher, 1% lower, or 2% higher, 2% lower, really makes no difference.
Yep.
You're going to make hundreds of thousands of pounds out of this. You're going to make tens of thousands of pounds of cash flow every month. It's like, what are you thinking about?
Yeah, exactly. Spot on. It's getting the deal done and actually securing the property and getting that into your portfolio and growing your portfolio. You can always remortgage at a later time, maybe to more of a retail type lender.
That's right.
2, 3, 4, 5 years down the line. But get the deal done, get the cash flow. That's the key. And worry about the rates later.
Yeah. So that brings us on to we've got one more deal, I think, to talk about, which I wanted to go through. Less of I think this mechanism was less of a.
Is this the semi-commercial
This
one?
is the basically 15 flats, 15 retail units. And again, overlaying a couple of things of exchange delayed completion, completing on value rather than exchange, segmenting the property purchase. Again, mentee of mine, part of the Property Business Accelerator group. And again, we had a 3-way meeting, didn't we? It was like retiring landlord, or he wasn't necessarily retiring, but he's an elderly landlord.
He was an elderly landlord, and he was getting rid of his stuff.
Some of the stuff
in a measured pace.
In a measured pace, and that's what they sometimes do. So that's why they don't always need the money.
Yeah,
quick.
Exactly.
Sometimes it's a health thing. This wasn't a health thing.
Yeah.
So we started off with like, okay, what do we think is worth? What is the agreed price? Then how do we do this?
Yeah.
And because there was a commercial section and a residential section, we split them in two.
Yep.
And we're doing them at different times. So again, exchanging on the lot.
Yep.
Completing on one segment and leaving the other segment to come later.
Yeah. But we saw when we analysed the deal, there was inherent value in the C3 residential element.
That's right.
And that was the key to this deal. We always talk about what's the key, what's the key to the deal. And when we looked at it, I think the purchase price was 1.2.
1.2.
That's it for both bits.
That's right.
But
when we had the commercial, what happened is we had the commercial valued.
Yeah.
And the commercial valued came back at 640.
660.
660. That's it. 660. It was one size, and therefore the outstanding amount for the residential section was 740.
That's it.
Because what happened was that they funded the commercial section with the SSAS, so they could get a full loan from the SSAS and their SSAS and other people's SSAS, and fully funded the downstairs bit. So there was no like cash in your own bank account that you needed to put into that, funded by the SSAS. Then therefore, it was like, well, how much is the rest worth?
Yeah. Because we thought it was way over $1 million, but she only had to pay 740.
Yeah. So there was 740 left to buy it.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I did a bit of due diligence. She did a bit of due diligence, and we worked out. And eventually, I was like, look, we need to go. I think we were thinking originally of $1 million, and I was like, no, we'll go higher. And I think she was holding her breath a bit, like feeling a bit uncomfortable. Yeah. But the valuation came in, and that's where the beauty is like the valuation came in at the 1.2 million, which means that the building, if you bought the first section at 660, is 1.86, and you picked it up 1.2. This was also a yield that was over, like it was around about 15% yield on purchase price. So I had the cash flow as well. We tried other mechanisms. But the guy wasn't having it. No. We talked about control. He didn't want to give up control. So you do get scenarios where the landlord doesn't want to give up control. I fully understand that because I think I'd be a bit dubious of that. But like fully understand that. So that's why. But with that different, but having that, the words I was looking for is load the uppers as the discount. So all the discount was in there because we paid full fair value through the SIP.
Yep.
Loaded the upstairs. So there was a big discount overall, but we doubly loaded it all into the discount rather than fairly across each unit.
Correct.
Which then allowed us. So you go on to say how we actually then purchased.
So we actually used a bridger, which will go lend off 75% of the open market value, and then will ignore the purchase price.
Yes.
But the net loan they're lending you can't be more than the purchase price. So I think we went with the Ultimate Finance in the end.
Yeah.
And we got a net loan from them for 739, and the purchase price was 740. So the only money she had to put in was the stamp.
That's right.
And now we're just waiting for the 6-month rule to kick through.
Yep.
And then I can then remortgage all 15 units onto a long-term lender, and she can get some of her money back as well.
Yeah, so the beauty of what's actually going on now at the moment, because we're working on this and I'm making sure that she's managing it all correctly, but the beauty of what's going on now is obviously, as you said, the net loan. And the net loan of a bridge is basically, it's like, what are they lending you?
You've got your gross loan, then you've got
right.
the fees, and then you've got the interest come off.
Rolled up interest, which is then taken on advance, and it was a 12-month loan, so that was a hefty amount of interest, all rolled up, and then you get the money in your pocket, kind of going to the solicitor to pay for it, and that's the bit that can't be bigger than the purchase price.
Correct.
However, what that does mean is you don't actually physically have to pay interest to the bank like you would normally on a long-term finance for these 12 months. Now, obviously, the quicker you're on the bridge, the redemption figure obviously then is more rosy the quicker you do it than if you wait and delay. So it is actual money. It's not kind of invisible money. But what it's meaning at the moment is the money's coming in of this building and there's no interest to pay because it's already been prepaid.
Exactly.
So there's quite a lot of cash coming out of this building now, which is great. And that, quickly repays actually the money that you have to put in. So it's not as though it's tied up forever. It's not even that you have to wait for the long-term finance to come in and kick in. So essentially when the long-term finance comes in, I think it pays off the bridge. I don't think there's much for cash out or anything, but it does cover the bridge.
It does.
And
it covers the bridge, and she will have 6 months worth of interest or 5 months worth of interest coming back towards
that's
her.
right. Yeah. Which lowers the...
whatever that, which is...
Yeah.
40,000. Something. It's something. It's something.
Yeah, so that's a great deal. And again, these are buildings that bit of commercial, bit of residential means again that not everybody's looking at them. It means again that you might be finding them in commercial agents rather than in residential agents. That what I find is that's quite a sweet spot. This kind of like £1 million plus, or even 700k plus, depending on where you are in a country. Might be a little bit cheaper up north, but you get to that zone, and there aren't loads of people because they believe you need hundreds of thousands of pounds to complete on it, rather than under £100,000, which regularly people are doing. Because if you think about that, the 1.2 million plus stamp duty, we're looking at $500,000 with the fees and valuations, and there was quite a lot of valuation fees going on. So again, you can't be shy on the valuation fees. I think that we've got to.
That's key. That's probably the most important part, because that is what the bank's going to lend off.